Look, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I already made a video talking about how the Miami Heat were potentially interested in signing Christian Wood last week. Of course, in that video, I go on to say, look, Miami interested, Lakers are previously interested. Lakers would be absolutely the perfect team to go and get him. You know, despite the Heat being interested in him as well. I spent like 5 hours editing, recording that video just for the next day, the Los Angeles Lakers to sign him. Of course, I cried. I was very upset. It was literally kind of like Woj slapped me in the face with his cock. That's just what it felt like, honestly. But again, in today's video, I'm going to be talking about why I do think Christian Wood would actually Wood is not even the word anymore. It is actually going to be the perfect player for the Los Angeles Lakers. Again, there's a lot to, of course, talk about here. At the end of this video, because I spent so long editing it, I will just post the Miami Heat being interested in him at the end of this one anyway, saying that the Lakers should have got him, because why not? I edited the video. I spent my hard hours with it just for Woj to slap me in the face with his willy. Again, it sucks, but you know what? We're here. We're queer. I'm not even actually gay. I just needed something to rhyme there. But Christian Wood on the Los Angeles Lakers, I do think is going to be a really, really good idea. I feel like the Lakers did a lot of elite things this offseason. Again, in my opinion, before the trade deadline happened, there was obviously a lot that this Lakers team was missing. Again, when AD was out with an injury, they were missing interior defense, height. Again, they needed a three-point shooting really, really badly for the whole entire season. They just needed everything. The only thing they really had was they had decent scorers on this team like LeBron James, Russell Westbrook, Lonnie Walker, Austin Reeves, Dennis Schroeder. But they needed a lot. And of course, at the trade deadline, we know that Anthony Davis relatively healed, which was a really awesome thing for them. They added their interior defense, they added their rebounding, and they added big man strength just by Anthony Davis coming back. And then they went out on the trade deadline. They added more defense on the perimeter as well by getting Jared Vanderbilt in, who's a really good interior and perimeter guy. A little bit before that, they got Rui Hachimura, who was a really good three-point shooter. They added D'Angelo Russell, who was a really good three-point shooter as well. And again, can play off of LeBron, which Westbrook couldn't do. And of course, they again added Malik Beasley, which didn't really do much, but still added good three-point shooting at the end of the day. Anyway, and then in this offseason, they continued to add on this. They signed Gabe Vincent to add the perimeter defense, of course. They re-signed all of their really good shooters that they had from last season. Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura are only going to get better for them next season. They also brought in Jackson Hayes, who, in my opinion, could be a really nice young defensive center as their backup. But at the end of the day, he's probably better than any of the centers they've had in the last 3 years, since like JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard were really good role players. So, again, they added him to coming into the team. He'll play backup to Anthony Davis, who now looks to be a permanent center for this Lakers squad. But then, of course, the only thing that was probably somewhat of a negative was they lost Dennis Schroeder. Right, Schroeder was not that bad, but again, you still lose, I think, scoring off that bench. And you brought in Gabe Vincent, which added a lot of nice perimeter defense, and he can still be a pretty nice shooter. But I just felt like the only things this Lakers team was lacking to kind of make them relatively a perfect squad was they desperately needed a scorer off the bench now that they've lost Schroeder. And I would still like another big on this team. Again, Christian Wood was sitting right there. A big man who was a really, really good scorer. Again, I know some people call him a locker room cancer, which I don't know if is completely true, considering there are now recent reports saying that Jason Kidd and half of the Dallas Mavericks still wanted to bring him back. It was just there were some people in the Dallas Mavericks who really didn't like him and ultimately led to him not coming back. Was that Luka? Was that a general manager? I'm not exactly too sure, but the coach seemed to really like him. Again, does that mean he's a locker room cancer? Probably not. But the relative thing is we know he can be somewhat of a hog on offense. And again, that's why he doesn't start. It's because you can't start him with a guy like Luka or Kyrie, because he will legitimately just take shots off them, and it's just not a good thing. He also can be very inconsistent on defense. But in saying all that, there are a lot of positives about him too. He's a phenomenal scorer, and when he's got the ball in his hands, he often makes something happen. He's really good in the pick and roll, and when he is concentrating on defense, he can be relatively nice on that end as well. And then, of course, again, he's a big man, which the Lakers don't have a lot of and haven't had a lot of for a minute now. The Lakers do something really, really important here. I think the Lakers have the perfect squad in the NBA, in my opinion. I would have said it was the Denver Nuggets, who I tipped to win the finals when the playoffs started. I ended up getting that right. They were just so perfect throughout the season. They've scored a perfect starting five over there in Denver, probably the best starting five in the league. Issue is, again, they've lost a ton of bench players like Jeff Green and Bruce Brown, and really only brought back like DeAndre Jordan to make up for it. He's one of the worst players, if not the worst player in the NBA. I seriously don't know how a guy like he, no offense to DeAndre Jordan, is in the NBA when you've got Dwight Howard and DeMarcus Cousins playing in Taiwan and Puerto Rico. It's so random. I legitimately just don't understand it. The Lakers have not only kept their starting five that was really good towards the end of last year and was one of the best in the playoffs, but they drastically improved their bench. They, of course, lost Dennis Schroeder, which does hurt, I think. But in losing Dennis Schroeder, you've actually replaced him now with Christian Wood and Gabe Vincent, who I think fill in a lot more holes than what Dennis Schroeder had on that team. Schroeder was still a small guy, and for a lot of time in that playoffs, they were starting Schroeder, Reeves, and D'Angelo Russell. Probably too small, even though it worked out in those playoffs. But now they get a lot taller. I think Hachimura will start on this team at the 4, and you'll probably have, I think, LeBron at the 3. The thing is, with their bench now, you can have, I think, Hayes will play a lot of 5 minutes. I think Vanderbilt will play a lot of 5 minutes. He'll play backup 4 as well. And now you've added Christian Wood, who adds a lot of big minutes. The reason all these players are so important is because Anthony Davis, again, he's unfortunately, and hopefully, touch wood, that he doesn't get injured this season. But unfortunately, he is just an incredibly injury-prone player. And if Anthony Davis was to go down like he did for all of last season, they were legitimately playing LeBron James at like the 5 before they were able to trade for Jared Vanderbilt at the deadline and were able to acquire Hachimura a little bit before that. Again, they had no height. You were having LeBron at the 5 and like Austin Reeves at the 4. It was shockingly bad. Now LeBron James goes from playing like minutes at the 5 to playing his normal position, which is the small forward. And now you've got guys like Jared Vanderbilt, Jackson Hayes, and Christian Wood, who can all step up for big minutes if a guy like, I think, Anthony Davis goes down. Like, just look at this, right? Jackson Hayes might be the 13th or 14th man on this team. I think the backup center will probably be like Christian Wood / Vanderbilt. They'll interchange from the 4 to the 5. And then we obviously know Hayes will be like the 13th man, and he'll be the backup to the backup. But realistic thing is, if Anthony Davis goes down, Jackson Hayes could automatically find himself starting, and the whole entire system wouldn't change a whole lot. This team is really, really good on the Lakers, and Christian Wood legitimately completes them. This was an incredibly good signing by them. I think if you're a Lakers fan, you should be drastically happy, and this just makes a whole lot of sense. And I think, unlike the Miami Heat one, this is a good move. It would have been a bit of a disaster, in my opinion, if he ended up going to the Miami Heat. Of course, a lot of really interesting things have now happened. I think this is a great move by the Lakers, and I think if everything goes right, they're probably my tip to win the championship. I think, other than maybe the Nuggets and the Celtics, they're the 3rd best team. Look, they might finish like 4th in the West, or 5th in the West, or maybe even 6th. Because again, they'll have injuries here and there, of course, and whatnot. But if they get this team healthy for the playoffs, it could legitimately, by far, be the best team. The depth is insane, and they've got a lot of big players there now. There's got a lot of youth sprinkled in. A lot of 3-point shooting, perimeter defense, interior defense, especially if AD stays healthy. And you've got LeBron playing. He'll be the playmaker in that starting 5. You've got point forward LeBron coming back like he did in the 2020 season when they won the championship. That's when LeBron James is at his best, when he's playing point forward, in my opinion, especially with this age. D'Angelo Russell and Austin Reeves are the perfect guys to have alongside him, and Reeves can, again, play point guard as well, take some of that ball off him. Realistic thing is, Russell might not even have the ball in his hands that much this season, but he's an incredibly good shooter, so I think he'll be able to manage quite well. Again, all this is really awesome. Of course, I'd like to do a bit of an outro, but in saying that, I'm also going to replace this with segueing from the previous comment that I made, why Christian Wood wouldn't have been good for the Miami Heat. And yeah, it makes a lot of sense for him being a Laker. So you guys get to see this video because why not? I edited it a lot and I think it deserves to be released. So yeah, thanks for watching and enjoy this next part. So for those of you keeping up with the channel, just like you keep up with the Kardashians, at least I hope you keep up with me more than the Kardashians. They've already got like $8 billion. Please watch me. I'm poor. Anyway, for those of you who haven't seen, I recently made a video talking about how the Miami Heat were interested in signing Kelly Oubre. And on that post, there was another player they were interested in. Some of you mentioned that I didn't actually talk about. I don't think any of you really mentioned it. I'm hoping one of you did. This is coming out way after that video is going to be released. I don't even know anymore, man. But essentially, Christian Wood was right there, and I, of course, didn't mention that fact that the Miami Heat are also reportedly being interested in Christian Wood. This has come from multiple different rumors. I don't know how or when this Christian Wood type of deal is going to get signed. From a little rumor that is going around is that Christian Wood is actually taking his time in free agency, waiting weeks and weeks and weeks to hopefully get a Larry Markkinen type deal. I don't know if any of you guys remember when Larry Markkinen was like a free agent for 3 or 4 weeks, and the Cleveland Cavaliers, who had not made a free agent move in a million years, decided to do a sign and trade where they got Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry? Where the fuck did Kyle Lowry come from? Where they got Larry Markkinen for a 4-year deal worth $17 million per season. Again, the Cavaliers were able to do that. Markkinen ended up playing really, really well, and then ended up getting shipped in a Donovan Mitchell type deal, where, of course, we know Markkinen ended up becoming the Utah Jazz's franchise player, and is now succeeding quite well with Finland in the FIBA World Cup. Again, a lot going into this. It does say that reports is that Christian Wood will be trying and waiting for a deal that comes like that. But we got to remember, I'm pretty sure Larry Markkinen only waited like 3 weeks or a month to get that deal. I'm pretty sure it's been nearly 2 months since Christian Wood has been waiting for a deal like that, and nothing has come at all. In fact, there were a lot of whispers about potential teams looking to offer Larry Markkinen that deal before the Cavaliers came out of nowhere, who were not even one of the teams who were whispered to do it and actually offered him that type. There are no teams that are apparently even offering Christian Wood more than the minimum contract right now, which is absolutely ridiculous. The reports were saying that the Lakers were the favorites to sign him about a month ago, saying they had put a minimum contract forward, where he, of course, was weighing up that decision. I think he just said, let's take our time, let's wait, let's pray to God that someone does give me a similar type deal to Larry Markkinen, and of course, it just has legitimately never come. There are a lot of reasons that this is happening. First of all, Larry Markkinen's a better player than Christian Wood was coming into the free agents that they both were in, right? Not just that, Larry Markkinen's proven that he can be a really quality starter, and was proven to be a pretty solid role player who can consistently shoot the 3 ball and get a rebound or 2. Issue with Christian Wood is he's kind of proven to do this, but not as a role player. Anytime Christian Wood is scoring heavy points, it's when he doesn't have any type of star near him on the court. It's him just balling out. And again, that's why the Dallas Mavericks brought him off the bench for the whole entire year, and the Houston Rockets shipped him out. Again, there are a lot of issues right now with Christian Wood's game style. The fact of the matter is, he's one of the worst defenders in the league when it comes to big men. He's legitimately only pretty impactful when it's just him on the court, and that's why he gets brought off the bench now. And really, not just that, but also he's looking for a lot of cash for that type of service. I think Christian Wood deserves a $5 to $10 million deal. I think if you're a team who's looking for some desperate scoring off the bench, I don't see why Christian Wood wouldn't be a good player to bring in. Although when I talk about the Miami Heat, I think this would be a tragedy if they sign Christian Wood. I think this would be no good at all. I do believe the Miami Heat need scoring, but we know that the Miami Heat they've based their whole entire game style off defense for so long, to the point where it's like Christian Wood coming into the team would help out with scoring, but the amount of sacrifice you would have to do to make sure, to make up for his defensive liabilities would be quite crazy for this Miami Heat team, and it just wouldn't be a good idea, in my opinion, at all. I still think Kelly Oubre would be an average type of signing. He wouldn't be able to start on that Miami Heat team just because he, Butler, and Bam Adebayo all in the same starting lineup is a disaster shooting-wise when it comes to the three ball. Christian Wood on this Miami Heat team would be quite interesting in terms of it probably would not go well at all, but I just wonder if they can pair him up with Bam Adebayo, could they figure something out? Because Kevin Love is, by all means, not a good defender really as much anymore. I think Kevin Love is low-key an underrated interior defender, but is probably one of the worst defenders in the NBA when he has to get pushed to the perimeter. He legitimately just goes up, puts his hands up, tries and guards. His opponent blows past him, and he lets Bam Adebayo take care of the rest in the paint. That's what a consistent thing is with Kevin Love and his defense. Christian Wood it doesn't have the interior defense that Kevin Love might have, and it's not great. But I do wonder if they could try and reinvent Christian Wood to tell him, look, we know you've got a good three ball, we know you're quite athletic, we know you're good in the paint, but we don't need you being this big shot creator. If you were to sacrifice yourself from taking all these shots, but come in and just put up some three balls and maybe help out as an extra option for Bam and Jimmy Butler, could he work? I think potentially, but it's a lot. I think this guy would have to sacrifice legitimately like 90% of his game style to fit with this Miami Heat team. In my opinion, an interesting one would be the Lakers. I've always said this. I think the Lakers could use an extra scorer off the bench. Look, they got Jackson Hayes as their backup center to add some defense there too. I know Hayes, I think, will develop into somewhat being a pretty good defender off that bench. I couldn't see why having Christian Wood off that bench as well as a 10th man or something would be a bad idea, just to help out with some scoring. You lost Schroeder off the bench, and they didn't really replace Schroeder with any scoring. They kept D'Angelo Russell, they kept Reeves, who are going to be very capable scorers for the Lakers next season. But off that bench, it's just role players, and that's fine and all because you've already got a bunch of scorers in that starting lineup. But I do wonder if maybe adding a guy off the bench like Christian Wood would be a pretty solid option in my opinion. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this, of course, all does unfold. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to my channel. Comment your thoughts and opinions down below. Should the Miami Heat try and sign Christian Wood, or should the Los Angeles Lakers go for him? Of course, I'd definitely really like to know. Don't forget to subscribe to my gaming channel and my IRL/rolling channels. Links for them will be in the description down below. But as I was saying, thank you guys so much for watching. Please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Stop watching the Kardashians and watch more of me, because I'm poor. And I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.